In today's video, we're going to be going over some designer fragrances that kind of give you the impression or the feeling or wearing experience of niche, except we're not actually stepping up to niche fragrances and paying that high price. So again, pretty simple here. We're looking at affordably priced scents that could kind of smell like more so what you would get out of a niche product. And I'm not necessarily talking in terms of quality here. I'm talking more in terms of the uniqueness of the scent, comparing to what a lot of other designer fragrances are smelling like these days. Because when you're after unique and when you're after something that smells different, typically you go for a more, exclusive niche fragrance, but that's not always 100% necessary. And there's proof right here. So we're actually going to start off with a $25 scent, one you would never expect, one that you probably haven't even heard of all that often. It's Franck Olivier Oud Vanille. This one has vanilla, incense, oud, caramel, and raspberry. Sometimes that's all you need to hear. Just a note breakdown like that sold me on this one immediately. And so I knew I had to pick it up and try it. And at a $20 to $25 price, it was a relatively safe blind buy in that aspect, at least for me, right? Because I know that I like stuff in this category. If you don't, even though it's only $25, you're still kind of rolling the dice. You might end up not liking it, but I'll try to break it down the best I can. You do pick up on a little bit of oud. Now keep in mind, we're talking a $25 scent here. It's not niche level oud, of course. We would not expect that anyway, but just to reiterate, it's a synthetic leaning oud, kind of more of a Mancera type of oud is how I always describe it. Mancera oud typically always smells the same. It's like they use the same type of compound, and it's a little bit more on the synthetic side and not overly niche smelling, given that it's a niche fragrance. It's usually a pretty designer level oud that Mancera uses, and it kind of smells like that in here. A little bit smoky from that incense, kind of sweet from this beautiful vanilla accord. You would expect to be picking up on that, hence the name. And then caramel, raspberry, nice gourmand sweetness also, which you actually do pick up on them. I pick up on more of the raspberry than the caramel, but you get a little bit of both. Nice, sweet, smooth, gourmand leaning, just delicious smelling, really, really impressive. If this was a $60 or $70 scent, it honestly wouldn't surprise me. I think I would probably pay $60 or $70 for this. The fact that you can get it for 25 bucks, to me, it's a no-brainer. This next one coming in at around $60, we have Robert Graham Fortitude. This one has tobacco, tonka bean, and patchouli. So really nice, simple tobacco scent at its core, They didn't load this one up with a bunch of extras that weren't needed, both in terms of the actual scent, but also just with what they give us in the note breakdown. Sometimes a simple note breakdown like that, 3 notes that's fine. It's a little bit annoying sometimes when everything is like that, but some scents it kind of makes sense. And to me, it does here. It doesn't go too far out beyond what they really list off, which if that's the case, hey, that's fine. Give us 3, that's good enough because that paints a good enough picture. It's tobacco with a little bit of a tonka powdery sweetness and then a patchouli kind of masculine undertone. Really, really nice. And I like the tobacco type that they used in here. It's just a little bit of a red pipe tobacco smell, not overly smoky, not overly syrupy, nothing crazy like, Mancera red tobacco or something. It's still very much a designer wearable type of tobacco, but the scent itself has more of a premium kind of smell to it that separates itself from a lot of other designer tobacco scents, if that makes sense. It's still wearable and mass pleasing, but at the same time, still manages to smell different and stand out amongst a sea of other tobacco scents. And if I didn't mention it already, it's about $60, I believe. And that is, I believe, a 100 ml bottle. Cool bottle, great scent. Everything about this stuff is amazing and definitely recommend picking one up while you can. Okay, this next one comes as no surprise to anybody, I'm sure, but it is Boss Bottled Absolu by Hugo Boss. It's got patchouli, myrrh, incense, and leather. Smoky, resinous, sweet, truly mysterious smelling is the way I describe this one. If you want to be shrouded in mystery when you're wearing this, if you want to be that guy where you walk through a room and this is going to be leaving that trail and people are just kind of intrigued by it, something like Boss Bottled Absolu is going to give you that desired result. It's just, again, it's kind of going against the grain in terms of other new modern day releases. Not only this, but also, of course, Boss Bottled Elixir. Elixir's where it started. This one takes that DNA, makes it even more intense, essentially. They're both parfums, both are strong, but this one just is heavier and sweeter overall in terms of scent profile. But for some people, Elixir is the better option because it's not as extreme. So do your research, do your sampling if you want, or buy them both, I guess. That's what I did. That's what a lot of people probably end up doing, I'm sure. But there are ways where you don't have to buy them both to figure out what you like. But, you know, just if you want the most intense version, get Absolu. If you want something a little bit more dialed back, get Elixir. But there's no doubt in my mind that this is a niche smelling product. It's premium, it's classy, it's high end. Not only that, incredibly high quality, great blend, parfum concentration, great performance. This for the money is great. Retails for like $158, discounters about $113 right now. It's gonna sell out quick at that price because it always does on discounters, but this is 1000% worth a pickup for wintertime. Let's keep it moving with John Varvatos XX Artisan. Basically, it's all about the vetiver and the bitter orange. So the bitter orange carries over from every other Artisan, basically, starting with the original orange-based scent. And then to me, this is just their vetiver fragrance, right? Standalone. Every designer brand, for the most part, has a vetiver scent, and this is theirs. The vetiver in this fragrance is kind of the more soapy variety, I would say. So kind of clean, soapy, fresh, not overly earthy and dry like some vetiver notes can be. And I'm thinking of something like, you know, Lalique L'Insoumis or something along those lines where it's just a little bit too dry and earthy, like I mentioned. This is not that. It goes in the opposite direction. To me, it's more wearable. To me, it's more of an attractive smelling scent, one that you would probably stand to get a greater amount of compliments from overall. And again, we're talking about something that's going for around $40 here, and it smells like it could be going for a lot more than that. Tobacco leaf, rum, and vanilla make up the bulk composition of this scent. It's described as cocktails and cigars, you know, and of course, memory and a fragrance. But I enjoy this one a lot. It's not to the point where it's unwearable, you know, because when we think of niche, sometimes we might think of that. That's not the goal of this video. Things that are designers or affordable that smell like unwearable niche. That's not what we want. We still want stuff with utility, and this one does have that. It has a lot of versatility for the cooler weather, dressed up but also dressed down, you know. Will you smell maybe a little bit overachieving if you're wearing this casually in some situations? Yeah, maybe, because it does have kind of a classy smell to it, but there's nothing wrong with that at all, you know. And the nice thing is that you could wear this to more of a formal event and you're gonna fit right in, you know. It doesn't smell like straight up booze and smoked tobacco either, so you know, it's not that extreme. It still is one that you can pull off in a very wide variety of situations. It's never really going to smell inappropriate, and yet another good compliment getter. All right, let's keep moving with Dunhill Amalfi Citrus. This one has lemon, green tea, and neroli. I've already said it, you know, this is old news now, but Dunhill fragrances are no longer going to be produced, so whatever's left out there in the discounter market is kind of about what's going to be left. Now, over time, I'm sure they will find some more and bring it back at some point. Every time they bring it back, it's probably going to be at a higher price, so my recommendation is always to buy these while you can. And it really is a shame because Dunhill Icon, the original, and this lineup here is so good for the money. You know, the prices have maybe gone up a touch now, but you know, at one point I think these were like, I don't know, $50 or something. Maybe they still are. A lot of fragrance for the money. You know, $50, it's not cheap by any means, but it's not, you know, horrendously priced. And for what you're getting, it is definitely underpriced in my opinion. Nice white floral, a little bit of a green note in here, and then plenty of citrus and musk. Just a nice, bright, light, fresh, green spring scent. It doesn't get much better than this. If you want simplistic, but at the same time, simplistic with a different twist, with a different smell, something that you haven't really picked up on before, that's Dunhill Amalfi Citrus. You get premium presentation too, really heavy bottle. You got this much of unused glass down here, adding a lot of weight. They do punch out a spot here, but it's still a real heavy base. Nice heavy cap as well that clicks into place. Everything about this stuff is top tier for a very, very fair price. Lalique L'Insoumis is what we're going to be kind of winding down with here. Lalique fragrance is amazing. I talked about Encre Noir earlier, $20, $30 scents, really nice. Another one is Ombre Noir, a really good scent with kind of this bay leaf rum booziness. some spices too. And then this one. This one's kind of interesting. It has basil, rum, clary sage, and lavender. And you pick up on all that. It's green, kind of earthy, but then it has a little bit of the sweetness and the slight bit of a booziness too. You know, I've seen this compared to some interesting things like Killian Straight to Heaven, I think is what I've seen it compared to. And honestly, when you smell it, it doesn't smell straight up like Straight to Heaven. There are plenty of differences here, but you can actually see a little bit of that, just a little bit of that boozy kick and this oak kind of woody smell that Straight to Heaven used and that smokiness. It's in here a little bit, but this is way more green, much more fresh, and still just different, right? But I can kind of see that correlation a little bit. You know, as far as this goes, a lot of designer fragrances aren't doing stuff like this. They're not trying to stand out as much as this one is trying to do, and I think that's pretty neat. Last up for this video, we have Montblanc Extreme Leather. Talked about this one a couple times here on the channel. I really like it. This one has leather, iris, and musk. It's extreme leather. It's not that extreme. I've said that before in other videos too. You do pick up on the leather, no doubt it's in here, but it's not an overpowering leather. And in fact, with the iris that you get alongside of it, it actually makes the scent pretty smooth, silky, and sweet. They list off musk as well. You pick up on a little bit of that, but I also get like some tonka bean because you are getting a powdery smell that's outside of just the iris, in my opinion. So I think that kind of goes along with it and along with that leather too. A really nice, sweet, kind of fall, winter leaning scent that, again, does have a tendency to stand out. It doesn't smell like any other leather scent that I've tried. It doesn't smell like any other iris fragrance that's really popular. It's taking note of other trendy fragrances and trendy styles and just kind of taking their own crack at it. And I really like it. Usually it's going to be around, I think, $60 to $70. And this is, I believe, yeah, it's a 125 ml bottle too. So you're getting a little bit bang for your buck. And I don't know if you could see it, but small detail, little metal piece here. That's where it says the name and the brand along there. Kind of a small detail, but it adds just a little extra cool touch to the bottle. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. I'm gonna have all these fragrances linked down below. Hopefully you guys enjoy your Christmas. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and hopefully you guys are having a great day with friends and family. Thank you for watching the channel and supporting over the years. It means the world, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.